Hello there, welcome to Short Talks with Ola. This week, I want to share something I came across while I was doing my Bible study this week. And it's in the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, verse 10 through 14. Isaiah 7, 10 to 14. And that was where God sent Prophet Isaiah to Ahaz. And when you get to verse 10, he said, "Ask the Lord your God for a sign of confirmation. Make it as difficult as you want, as high as the heaven or as deep as the place of the dead." And Ahaz responded to Isaiah and said that he cannot tempt God, that who is he to ask God for a sign, so to say. But in verse 14, Isaiah said to him that yes, you may not want to ask God for a sign, but God is going to give you a sign. And what was that sign? The sign was that the virgin will conceive and have a child. And I was thinking, if there is a difficult sign, that is a difficult sign. That is very difficult. A virgin having a baby without a man. If nothing is difficult, then that is difficult. And that was the sign that God gave Ahaz. And it got me thinking that most of the time, just like Ahaz, we say to God that, who are we? Sometimes we feel there are some things too big for God to do. But the instruction was ask God for a sign. Yes, he said a sign, but it's the same thing, us asking God for something. If God can do something as big as a virgin having a baby, then who are we not to ask God? And then if you read Jeremiah chapter 32:27, that's one of the scriptures I use whenever I'm believing God for something very big, to be honest. It says, "Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is anything too difficult for me to do?" And I want to say to you, no, there's absolutely nothing too difficult for this God to do. It's just that sometimes we limit God with the way we think, we limit God with our belief, we limit God with our faith. Yes, sometimes we ask God for things, and then in our mind, you're still thinking, how is it going to happen? How am I going to do it? How is this going to be? Is it this person? Is it that person? We begin to think it out. But that is not our place. Our place is to ask God. And the moment you ask God, leave it in God's hands. I want to encourage you as you go into this week. Trust God and ask God for that difficult thing. I am going to ask God for my difficult thing because I need God to show up big time for me this week. So I'm going to be asking for my big thing this week. And I want to encourage you to do the same and take the limit of God. That's the problem. We put a limit on God that, oh, is this possible? Nothing is impossible with God. It says, for with God, all things shall be possible. All things covers everything, no matter how difficult, no matter how strange it may even sound. But because it's God, it becomes possible. He's the one that specializes in making impossibilities possible. So I want to encourage you as you go into this week, as you go about your life, not necessarily just this week, but in life general, as you move on in life, I want to encourage you, take the limit of God. Ask God for those difficult things. Because if God does not do it, then who is going to do it? It's only God that can do the difficult things in our lives. All we need to do is take the limit off, trust God, believe, and move from the level of just believing God to trusting God. Yes, you believe God is going to do this, but do you trust Him enough to do it? When you trust God enough to do it, you leave it in His hands. Then you forget about it and then let Him do what He knows to do best, which is to answer prayer. We don't answer prayers ourselves. God answers prayers. And one thing He has said is that while we are yet calling upon Him, He said He will answer us. So let's believe God. Let's trust God this week. and beyond. And I pray that that difficult thing that you're going to be asking God for, God will show up and prove himself as the Almighty God. That's who he is, and he will prove himself in your life, in my life. And I pray you have a blessed week.